In this video, we are going to talk about AR, some of its recent price action, the important support and resistance areas, and where we can expect the price of AR to go in the next few days and weeks. So we will be looking at the weekly chart, and what you can see here is that AR has been very clearly in a downtrend for years now, with it continuing to create lower highs as well as lower lows, and AR has been continuously dumping since May of 2024. So for more than 2 years now, AR has been dumping very aggressively. We've seen AR start to create new all-time lows since late 2025. It broke down below this support area at around $4 that held for a few years, and the long-term downtrend definitely did not break, but we do have some more positive signs in the last few months. Back in October of 2025, we had the October liquidation event, which was a major event that caused a dump by the entire crypto market, and back then we saw AR get a new all-time low, with it going all the way down to $1.4 very briefly. It then recovered back up very quickly. It even briefly got a very significant rally all the way up to $8.7. So this was a very large swing by AR in just a few weeks, but it was very short-lived, and it then continued dumping further, and then eventually it went almost all the way back down to where it was back in the October liquidation event. We had another significant low right here at $1.5, which was actually a slightly higher low, which was the first positive sign for AR in many years. It then continued rallying all the way up to around $2.8. It was a rally of nearly 2x, and then in the last couple of months we have seen AR continue to dump, but it is still above where it was back in the low from March of 2026, and it is now attempting to create another higher low right here. If it does manage to get a rally from here and continue to create another higher low, this would be a very positive sign for AR. We can draw this trend line right here for AR from these two recent lows, and we can see that AR is currently right at the trend line, and it is now attempting to get support from here. Also guys, if you are enjoying these videos and you want more updates about AR, if you're getting any value from these updates and you want to see more of them, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It allows me to continue making these videos, and it helps me way more than you know. So make sure to subscribe, and now let's continue with the analysis of AR. So just in the last couple of weeks, we are already seeing a bit of support off of this trend line, but it is definitely not clear just yet, and AR is now at a pretty crucial decision point of whether it can get a rally sometime soon, or if it eventually breaks down below it. If AR does close a weekly candle below this trend line, below around $1.7, this would likely lead to it continuing to dump much further and continuing with its long-term downtrend. It would then most likely lead to it breaking down below this recent low at $1.5. Really, this is still quite speculative because this trend line relies on just two lows, and one of them was the one from the October liquidation event, which was very brief. This is not a very strong data point since AR was only at those levels for literally just a few minutes. So although it is possible for this trend line to hold and for AR to get some support off of it, it is definitely not the most convincing thing in the world, and I would still be very cautious with it. Really, for me to believe that AR is actually holding onto it and getting a trend reversal, I would first want to see AR crossing above this recent high at $2.8 and closing a weekly candle above it. This would really confirm a trend reversal, and that AR is now starting to create higher lows as well as higher highs. I think that this scenario is definitely possible, but it is still probably quite unlikely, and I think that the more likely scenario in the long term is that AR will continue with its downtrend that it has been in for many years. I think that it is also more likely just because the entire crypto market is still in a bear market. Bitcoin is still very clearly in a downtrend despite some of its recent rallies in the last few months. Bitcoin is still very clearly in a downtrend and in a bear market, and I think that it will continue to be in a bear market for at least a few more months going further into 2026. And historically in bear markets, altcoins tend to underperform Bitcoin. Of course, there can be some exceptions, and AR could be one of them if it does manage to get some support off of this trend line and break above $2.8, as I said. But I think that it is still quite unlikely, and most altcoins will just not be those exceptions. So as I said, I would still be very cautious with AR as well as altcoins in general. Of course, this isn't financial advice whatsoever, but I would personally avoid being heavy into altcoins at the moment. I would only consider being into some very selectively, only the ones that have a very good structure, and I would have very clear exit signals. Altcoins are not really anything to be in the long term, and the only long-term holds, in my opinion, in the crypto market are mostly Bitcoin and maybe a bit of Ethereum at most. Even that would only be for a few months to maybe a couple of years at most. Really, the only very long-term hold in the crypto market is Bitcoin, not just now, but really in general. But it is definitely true at the moment as well. And I think that the chances of us seeing an altcoin season anytime soon are very slim. Historically, for us to see an altcoin season, we first need to see Bitcoin and Ethereum getting to new all-time highs, and currently this is very far away from being the reality in the market. Bitcoin is about 50% down from its all-time high, Ethereum even more than that, so I definitely don't think that it is likely to happen anytime soon at all. I think that it will take many more months for us to even be able to consider an altcoin season happening, and as I said, of course, there can be some exceptions, and some altcoins will outperform Bitcoin and perform very well even during the bear market, but most of the altcoin market will most likely underperform Bitcoin. And as I said, with the AR, it is currently at a pretty crucial decision point whether it can get support off of this trend line, but I think that the most likely scenario in the long term is that it will continue to dump further and probably get to new all-time lows sometime later in 2026 or maybe in 2027. I do think that the most likely scenario is that it will eventually break down below its all-time low and head below $1.3. So hey guys, that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed it and you want more updates about AR as well as other altcoins and the crypto market in general, make sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.